Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear brothers and sisters, have you ever noticed that sometimes Allah doesn't remove your test right away? You cry, you beg, you break down, but the silence from the heavens continues. And then one day, suddenly, the same burden that felt impossible to carry is lifted so effortlessly that you almost can't believe it. And in that moment, something awakens inside your soul, because you realize Allah was never punishing you. He was preparing you. 1. The weight of waiting. There comes a point in every believer's life when the silence becomes heavy, so heavy that it almost echoes. You make dua after dua, you raise your hands night after night, and yet the world around you remains painfully still. It feels as though your prayers are floating up only to dissolve into the sky without an answer. You look around and suddenly everyone else seems to be moving forward. Their doors open, their hearts healed, their dreams unfolding, while you remain in the same place, waiting, hoping, trying to convince yourself that Allah hasn't forgotten you. Sometimes the test comes as a loss so deep it steals the color from your world. Sometimes it's heartbreak that tears at the very fabric of your soul. And sometimes it's not even an event. It's a season. A long, lonely season of silence where nothing seems to change, where even your faith feels tired, and you begin to wonder if the wait itself is your destiny. But here's the truth that your eyes cannot yet see. Every single moment of that waiting is sacred. Every tear that slipped down your face in secret, every breath you took while trying to hold yourself together, every time you whispered, Ya Allah, and no one else heard you, they were all seen, all recorded, all counted. Not a single second of your struggle was ignored. The angels were writing, your Lord was watching, and the unseen world was quietly moving in your favor while you thought nothing was happening at all. You see, the test was never about what was taken from you. It was about what was being built inside of you. Because while you were waiting for the situation to change, Allah was changing you. He was polishing your soul, deepening your faith, and teaching you the kind of patience that only grows in the soil of heartbreak and delay. Sometimes the test isn't meant to move the mountain before you, it's meant to move the mountain within you. It's meant to shift your heart from depending on this world to depending completely on the one who created it. It's in that stillness, in that quiet ache of waiting, that Allah molds you into the person who will be ready for the blessing when it finally comes. So if you feel forgotten, know that the silence you're living through is not the absence of Allah's mercy. It's the space where His mercy is working in secret. 2. The hidden work of Allah. While you were waiting, crying, wondering why nothing seemed to move, something was moving, but not where your eyes could see. In the unseen realm, where angels travel faster than light and decrees are written before they reach the earth, Allah was arranging everything with perfect precision. You see, the plan was never delayed. It was being designed. Every door that closed in your face wasn't rejection. It was protection from a path that would have harmed you. Every person who walked away wasn't a loss. It was Allah clearing the space for someone meant to stay. Every disappointment was an answer to a dua you made long ago. A dua that said, Ya Allah, bring me what is best for me. And He did, just not in the way you expected.
Sometimes, we only see the surface of life, the visible, the immediate, the urgent. We see the pain of waiting, But we don't see the divine orchestration happening behind the curtain. We don't see the moments Allah blocks something because the timing would crush us instead of bless us. We don't see the times He delays something because He wants our hearts to mature enough to receive it with gratitude. And we don't realize that the silence we call delay is often the sound of Allah aligning the entire universe just to deliver what we asked for at the most perfect moment. Allah tells us in the Quran, "But perhaps you hate a thing, and it is good for you. And perhaps you love a thing, and it is bad for you. And Allah knows, while you do not know." Surah Al-Baqarah 216. Think about that. The one who knows the past and the future, the unseen and the seen, the one who designed your heartbeat and wrote your story, He knows the precise moment when your test should begin and the exact second when it should end. And between those two moments, He is teaching you things you would never learn from comfort. Every hardship carries a hidden message from Allah. It whispers, "Trust me, even when you don't understand me." Because His wisdom is not always revealed in the middle of the journey. It's often revealed when you finally reach the end and look back to see how perfectly everything fit together. There are angels right now preparing what you prayed for. There are doors.
Sometimes we only see the surface of life, the visible, the immediate, the urgent. We see the pain of waiting, but we don't see the divine orchestration happening behind the curtain. We don't see the moments Allah blocks something because the timing would crush us instead of bless us. We don't see the times He delays something because He wants our hearts to mature enough to receive it with gratitude. And we don't realize that the silence we call delay is often the sound of Allah aligning the entire universe just to deliver what we asked for at the most perfect moment. Allah tells us in the Quran, "But perhaps you hate a thing, and it is good for you. And perhaps you love a thing, and it is bad for you. And Allah knows, while you do not know." Surah Al-Baqarah 216. Think about that. The one who knows the past and the future, the unseen and the seen, the one who designed your heartbeat and wrote your story, He knows the precise moment when your test should begin and the exact second when it should end. And between those two moments, He is teaching you things you would never learn from comfort. Every hardship carries a hidden message from Allah. It whispers, "Trust me, even when you don't understand me." Because His wisdom is not always revealed in the middle of the journey. It's often revealed when you finally reached the end and look back to see how perfectly everything fit together. There are angels right now preparing what you prayed for. There are doors quietly being unlocked, hearts being softened, and paths being cleared, all without your awareness. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean Allah isn't doing it. The unseen world is alive with His mercy. And when the time is right, everything will unfold so beautifully that you'll cry, not out of pain, but out of awe at how gentle Allah's timing truly was. So don't be fooled by the stillness. Don't mistake silence for abandonment. Because in every moment you thought nothing was happening, Allah was busy writing your miracle. 3. When the test ends. And then, almost without warning, the storm quiets. The noise that once filled your heart, the fear, the anxiety, the ache, it begins to fade. You don't even realize when it happens. You just wake up one morning, and the same pain that used to suffocate you no longer holds the same power. The same tears that once fell endlessly no longer find their way to your eyes. Something subtle but sacred has shifted within you.
That's the moment you'll know Allah has begun to remove the test from your life. But He doesn't always do it in dramatic ways. Sometimes He doesn't change your situation. He changes your perception of it. The storm may still be there, but the waves no longer shake your soul the way they used to. You find yourself breathing again, feeling peace in places that used to feel like prison. And that peace, that stillness in your heart, is not the result of your own strength. It's a divine gift. It's Allah whispering to your soul, "The test is over. You've learned what I wanted you to learn." You start to see wisdom where you once saw only pain. You begin to thank Allah for closing doors that you once begged Him to keep open. And you realize that what He took away was not a punishment. It was His mercy in disguise. Because the truth is, when Allah removes a test, He doesn't just free you from hardship. He frees you from the version of yourself that couldn't survive without it. He takes away the heaviness, but leaves behind the lesson. He removes the confusion, but leaves behind the clarity. He takes the wound, but leaves behind the wisdom. And in that moment of reflection, you finally understand that your dua was never unanswered. It was being fulfilled in ways your heart could not yet comprehend. What you thought was silence was actually mercy. What you thought was rejection was redirection. And what you thought was delay was divine perfection. When Allah removes your test, you don't just return to who you were before it. You become someone entirely new, someone softer, humbler, closer to Allah than you ever were before. You carry a quiet strength, a kind of faith that doesn't panic when things go wrong, because you've already seen what happens when everything goes wrong and Allah still carries you through. That's the hidden beauty of the ending. It's not the ease itself. It's the you that emerged from the hardship. It's the way your heart now beats with gratitude instead of fear. It's the way your tongue whispers, Alhamdulillah, without needing a reason. It's the way you now look back at the nights you thought you wouldn't survive and realize those were the nights Allah was closest to you. So when the test ends, don't just celebrate that the pain is gone. Celebrate that Allah chose you to walk through something that purified your heart, softened your soul, and returned you to Him. Because sometimes the end of a test isn't a change in your life, it's a transformation in your soul. 4. The signs that the test has been lifted. When Allah finally lifts the test from your life, He leaves behind traces, not always visible to the world, but deeply felt within your soul. It's not just that your problems fade away, it's that your heart begins to breathe differently. Something within you feels lighter, quieter, as though 1,000 invisible chains have been gently unhooked. And it's in that calmness that you begin to notice the signs, subtle but undeniable, that Allah's mercy has descended upon you. The first sign is peace. Not the kind of peace that depends on circumstances, but the kind that lives in your chest no matter what's happening around you. You realize that the storm may not have stopped, but it no longer terrifies you. You've learned to stand in the rain and still whisper, Alhamdulillah. There's a deep stillness inside, a serenity that tells you you've surrendered. And in that surrender, you feel free. This peace is Allah's way of saying, My servant, you trusted me through the darkness. Now I'm granting you light within it. The second sign is transformation through remembrance. You find yourself speaking differently, thinking differently. The things that once angered or broke you no longer hold power over your heart. You remember the pain, but it no longer defines you. The same hardship that once weakened you has become a source of strength. You begin helping others who are still in the place you escaped from. You recognize their cries because they once mirrored your own. And when you comfort them, you realize you're not speaking from theory anymore. You're speaking from survival, from faith that's been tested and proven true. That's a sign the wound has turned into wisdom. The third sign is gratitude, a kind of gratitude that brings tears to your eyes for things you once begged Allah to take away. You start saying, Ya Allah, thank you for not giving me what I wanted. Because you see now that his delay wasn't rejection, it was redirection. His silence was protection. You find yourself thanking him for every detour, every heartbreak, every sleepless night, because you finally see that everything you thought was breaking you was actually guiding you home to him.
And the fourth sign, the most beautiful of them all, is contentment with destiny. You stop asking, why me? And instead your heart whispers, Alhamdulillah, it was meant for me. Because you finally understand that Allah never chooses random souls for deep tests. He chooses the ones He loves most, the ones He wishes to elevate, the ones He wants to draw nearer. And once you realize that, your entire outlook on life changes. You stop fearing trials and start trusting in what they're creating within you. You no longer resist what happens. You simply say, if Allah wrote it for me, it must be good. When these signs begin to appear, know that your heart has graduated from its season of testing. The heaviness has served its purpose. The pain has been purified into prayer. And now, Allah is preparing to fill the space once occupied by sorrow with something far greater: peace, clarity, and closeness to Him. So when you notice your soul quieting, your mind slowing, your tongue remembering Allah more easily than before, that's not random. That's the unseen echo of a test that has finally lifted. It's Allah saying, "My servant, you have endured. Now walk in the ease that follows your patience." 5. Allah's wisdom in delay. Sometimes the most painful part of any test is not the loss itself, it's the waiting. That long stretch of silence between your dua and the answer. The part where your heart whispers, "Why isn't it happening yet?" and the world feels frozen in time. You start to question your own faith, wondering if maybe Allah has turned away, if your voice no longer reaches the heavens. But what you don't realize is that delay itself is one of Allah's most merciful answers. You see, Allah's timing is not random. It is sacred. It is deliberate. It is perfect. Every delay you face carries divine precision. Because when Allah delays something, He's not withholding goodness. He's preparing you to handle it when it arrives. A blessing given too soon can destroy a heart that isn't yet strong enough to carry it. So Allah, in His love, makes you wait. Not because He wants you to suffer, but because He wants you to grow before you receive. Imagine the rain. It doesn't fall until the clouds are heavy enough to pour. It gathers quietly, slowly, unseen by human eyes. And then, when the time is right, the heavens open and release what they were holding. That's how Allah answers your dua. He lets it gather and mature in the unseen until both you and the moment are ready for each other. Sometimes Allah delays because what you're asking for is smaller than what He intends to give. You're asking for one door, but He's preparing an entire palace. You're praying for one person, but He's saving you for a love that will bring you closer to Him. You're crying for an escape, but He's designing a path that will transform your entire destiny. So He delays, not to deny you, but to upgrade your prayer in ways you can't comprehend. And sometimes Allah doesn't remove the test at all. He removes the need for what you were begging for. He softens your heart so deeply that you no longer crave the thing you once thought you couldn't live without. That's not a loss. That's liberation. Because when you reach a point where your happiness is no longer tied to a specific outcome, you've reached one of the highest stations of faith, ridha, contentment with Allah's decree. And that contentment is worth more than anything you were waiting for.
Allah's wisdom operates beyond our understanding. Sometimes He delays because He wants you to talk to Him longer. He loves your voice in dua. He loves your tears in sujood. He loves the way your heart keeps turning back to Him. So He stretches the waiting, not to punish you, but to keep you close. There are moments when Allah watches your patience grow and He tells the angels, "Look at my servant, still waiting, still trusting, still remembering me." And at that very moment, your patience is being written as worship. Your silence is being written as dhikr. Your waiting is being written as love. So when the delay feels unbearable, remember this: the one who is making you wait is the same one who can change everything in an instant. He is not late. He is aligning. He is protecting. He is teaching you the rhythm of divine timing, where every not yet is simply another way of saying, "My servant, soon, but not until it's best." And when that moment finally arrives, when Allah decides the waiting has fulfilled its purpose, you will see why He made you wait. You'll look back and realize that if it had come sooner, you wouldn't have been ready, and you would have lost something greater, yourself. Because Allah's delay was never a denial. It was an act of love, a way to purify your heart, elevate your soul, and prepare you for blessings you once thought you didn't deserve. So be still in your waiting. The one you're waiting for is not absent. He's near. And when the time comes, you'll understand that the delay was part of the miracle all along. 6. The dua that changed everything. There was a night. Maybe you remember it well. The night when you couldn't stop crying, when your chest felt too tight to breathe and the weight of everything became too heavy to carry. You sat alone in the darkness, and for the first time you didn't even have the strength to form complete sentences. All you could whisper was, "Ya Allah, please, I can't do this anymore." You didn't know it then, but that broken whisper reached the throne of the Most Merciful. It wasn't ignored, it wasn't lost in the silence. It was heard and cherished. Because Allah loves the voice of a servant who calls upon Him in desperation, with a heart stripped of every illusion of control. That night, when your tears touched the ground, something shifted in the heavens. We often think that the most powerful dua is the one spoken with eloquent words and perfect phrasing. But in truth, the most powerful dua is the one made from the heart that's been shattered beyond repair. Because when everything has been taken away, your voice carries nothing but sincerity. And sincerity pierces through the veil between you and Allah faster than you can imagine. That single dua, whispered through trembling lips, made in a moment of complete helplessness, was the turning point of your story. It was the moment Allah began rewriting your fate. Not because your pain was new to Him, but because you finally surrendered it to Him. And when you surrender something to Allah fully, He doesn't just take it, He transforms it. Maybe the situation didn't change right away, but your heart did. Maybe the pain didn't leave immediately, but strength started to bloom inside your soul. You began to feel a strange kind of peace, as if Allah was whispering, "My servant, I have heard you. Be patient. I am already working on what you cannot see." The Prophet ﷺ said, "Your Lord is shy and generous. If His servant raises his hands to Him, He becomes shy to let them return empty." Tirmidhi 3556. So know this, not a single dua you've ever made was wasted. Even the ones you've forgotten, Allah has not. Some were answered with blessings, some were answered with protection, and some were answered with patience, because what you asked for wasn't ready yet, or you weren't ready for it. Every dua lives in the unseen, circling above you like a promise waiting for its perfect moment. Sometimes Allah answers immediately. Sometimes He waits until your heart is in the right place. And sometimes He saves the answer for the day of judgment, when you'll stand before Him and see treasures piled high, and you'll ask, Ya Allah, what are these? And He will say, these are the rewards of the du'as you made, the ones I loved too much to answer in this world. So the night you thought you were breaking, that was not your ending. It was the beginning of your transformation. Because Allah heard every word, saw every tear, and began shaping a future that would make sense of all the pain you couldn't understand. That night, when you cried alone, you were not alone at all. The angels were recording, the Most Merciful was listening, and the entire unseen world paused to witness a heart returning home to its Creator. That dua, your dua, changed everything. It didn't just change your destiny, it changed you. It taught you where to go when life hurts, and who truly listens when no one else can. So never underestimate a moment of brokenness, because sometimes the most shattered hearts make the loudest noise in the heavens. 7. The unseen reward. Every second you stayed patient, angels were recording it. Every tear that fell in secret, Allah was storing it as a jewel in your scale of deeds. On the day of judgment, when others are searching for a single good deed, you will see mountains of reward for the times you stayed silent and trusted Allah. 8. When Allah turns pain into power. And when Allah finally removes your test, you will notice something miraculous. The same pain that made you cry now becomes the fire that drives your purpose. You'll walk differently, pray differently, love differently, because the test purified you. You'll realize you no longer crave the dunya the way you used to. You'll crave peace. You'll crave closeness to Allah. And that is the biggest gift He could ever give.
9. A message for the one still being tested. If you're still waiting for your test to end, listen carefully. Allah hasn't forgotten you. He's not ignoring you. He's watching how long you'll hold on to Him when everything else is falling apart. The Prophet ﷺ said, when Allah loves a people, He tests them. Whoever is patient, Allah will make him patient. And whoever is angry, Allah will be angry with him. So maybe this test isn't punishment. Maybe it's proof that Allah still loves you enough to train your heart. And when the test finally ends, you will look back and say, it was hard, but it made me who I am today. You'll realize that the most painful chapters were actually the ones that brought you closest to Jannah. Because when Allah removes a test, He doesn't just change your situation, He changes your soul. So if your life feels heavy right now, be patient. Because Allah is not done writing your story. And when He finally lifts your test, you'll find something more beautiful than what you were praying for. You'll find Him. Your test was never meant to break you. It was meant to wake you. And when it's finally over, you'll realize the wait was worth every second. Because what Allah gives after hardship is always greater than what He takes away. So hold on a little longer. The ease is already on its way. Allah says, indeed, with hardship comes ease. Surat Ash-Sharh 94.
6. And soon, you'll see it. You'll live it. You'll thank him for it.